In this two-part video series, I will explore the geopolitical situation of the country of Eduvia in the world of Omnia. In the first video, I'm going to look at the background information of Eduvia, like geography, history, culture, economics and internal politics and governing. And in the second video, I will look at the external politics, ambitions and plans of the empire. First up, geography. Eduvia really sits at the heart of the Great Valley, which is situated between the Tumos Mountains in the north and the Dwarven Mountains and the Southern Sea in the south. The country stretches across the entire height of the Great Valley. Eduvia also has an elaborate system of rivers running through it that stem from these mountains. Because of these rivers, most of the country is comprised of fertile land, with much of it being forested as well. Its western end is sparsely populated compared to its eastern half, though many people are trekking to this area to start new lives and tame the unchecked nature. The southern half of the country is divided by a particularly hilly area where they have only relatively recently expanded into. The southern part is the only part of the country with access to the sea, though the Southern Sea is treacherous and only experienced mariners can navigate it. The Inland Sea is less hostile, however. Next up, history. Eduvia is a country born out of rebellion. Its first ruler, Vindicus, rebelled against the overlord empire of Romric, which used to control a large part of the Great Valley about 700 years ago. During its first years, the country expanded quickly, conquering territories in the name of liberating the people from their oppressors. Most of this was done within the lifetime of Vindicus, who has become one of the heroes of humanity and is revered throughout Eduvia. After the rebellion, Eduvia continued expanding till they found the border of civilization at that time. Much of the western region of the Great Valley had been a wilderness where no people dared venture into, as the many monsters in that region destroyed any chance of settling there. But in the year 279 AT, which stands for Ante Tumultus, or before the invasion, under the Empress Galeria, the nation started a massive project to resettle the forgotten lands of the Great Valley. And it wasn't until more than 3.5 centuries later that the project was completed. During the Great Daemon invasion, Eduvia was one of the central nations that fought against the invaders. They are expert builders and made many of the forts that dot the landscape of the middle region of the Tumons mountain range. After the Great Daemon invasion, they continued expanding as they recovered faster from the war than their neighbors did. Now, as always, their eyes look ever beyond their borders. Let's talk about the people living in Eduvia. Eduvia is home to many different peoples. Its main inhabitants are humans, but you can also find many high elves and gnomes amongst their midst. The strength of the nation is its tolerance and its meritocratic ideas. That's the reason that high elves and gnomes can live comfortably in Eduvia. Because of the tolerance, many people are accepted in society as long as they pull their weight. Many religions are also welcome in Eduvia. Eduvian leadership does not put a lot of emphasis on religion, as they see it as separate from the state. The reason for this has its origins in the rebellion against Romric. Romric was a state that put an incredible amount of importance on religion, and Eduvia's intention was obviously not to become a second Romric. Of the many cultures in Eduvia, most of it is the Duvian one, or has become the Duvian culture. Other prominent cultures in Eduvia are the Vranomiran, Selomni and Covodandan cultures in the south, and the Tishran, Tuklan and Romrican cultures in the north. The Duvian culture embodies meritocracy to its fullest. To a certain extent, this even applies to the emperor and the imperial family themselves, since the emperor must show that he can rule the country well, and it is in the people's merit to have him leading it. They also put a high value on construction and architecture, and they like to say that they are the ones that literally built their nation from the ground up. Or as they say, Eduvia ad Duvianis omevitem. Eduvia was built by the Duvians. Whether it's wood, clay or stone they work with, they don't really mind. The Duvian culture is also a martial one. Serving in the Duvian army is an honor, and becoming a high rank in it is something every child dreams of. Being proficient with a weapon is common in the country, and people usually learn to fend for themselves. Among the richest citizens, it is also common to learn a bit of magic, and many of the richest go to the Magic College of Pro to get an education there. Talking about rich, let's talk economics. Eduvia is the center point of the Great Valley, and everything from north to south and from east to west passes through Eduvia. Even though most of Eduvia is landlocked, the many rivers it has facilitate that trade greatly. Especially the raw resources coming from the west and the many precious items of the dwarves from the Dwarven Mountains need to pass through Eduvia to reach other markets. Eduvia has leveraged this central position greatly in order to maintain the wealth to support his army. This trade with the West manifests itself in the famous Trinity trade, in which the materials gathered from the many monsters in Monstria are sold to the dwarves who refine it into armor, weapons and other trinkets, who then sell it to Eduvia, who use them to equip people whose services then get sold to Monstria to kill monsters. This continuous cycle has led to an incredible amount of wealth for the three countries involved, and has led to many Eduvians going westwards to seek fortune. Other than trade, Eduvia has a solid base of taxes applied to everyone in the country, except for the Emperor, who essentially is the country. Technically, all land in Eduvia is seen as the land of the Emperor, so therefore anybody who uses his land has to give him something in return. In this case, taxes. Paying taxes is part of the meritocracy, and it is seen as helping the Empire if you do so. Most of the taxes go to support the army and to different infrastructure projects. Bridges, roads and harbors are well maintained with these funds. Lastly, internal politics and governance. Eduvia is led by its emperor, but it does not have a noble class. Instead, most of the governing is done by the Imperial Administration, or the IA. The IA is an immense governmental body that oversees the collection of taxes and where the money is spent. They also oversee many other aspects of civilization, like education, local conflicts, resource extraction, businesses, etc. etc. Eduvia is divided into provinces, of which each is governed by an imperial governor. An imperial governor is an elected position, which is chosen by the emperor. Though if the last governor was a decent governor, it is usual for their children to be the next one, so the position in reality is semi-hereditary. Imperial governor is a title that is also given for life, or until either the holder gives it up, willingly, or has their title revoked by the imperial administration. The imperial governors report directly to the emperor. Next to the imperial administration and the imperial governors, there's also the Wise Council. The Wise Council is a group of old high elves who have been there since the beginning of the empire, and were the ones who witnessed its founding. All these elves stem from honorable families that have protected civilization since the elven age of mythology many millennia ago. The Wise Council is an advisory body, and holds barely any real power. The Wise Council is also shrouded in mystery, and really the only person who knows anything about it or any of its secrets is the Emperor. Once a year, a 3-week Grand Imperial gathering is held in Eduvia, in which the Emperor and Crown Heir invite all the leaders of the Imperial Administration, all the Imperial Governors, the Wise Council, and the 5 generals of the Grand Army of Eduvia to discuss the many problems and opportunities that present themselves each year. This is essentially a forum for all the leaders of the Empire to express their opinions. Attendance is not mandatory, but it is highly recommended, and for every leader it is by far the most important event of the year. So all in all, Eduvia is a well-oiled machine of a country, from its culture to its trade to its governing. It is therefore one of the most powerful countries, if not the most powerful country on Omnia. And it uses that power to throw its political weight around to influence the rest of the world, as we'll see in the next video. That was it for the background information of Eduvia. As I said before, in the next video we will look at the external politics, their diplomacy and ambitions. Thank you all for watching.